Hey everyone, it's Byron again. I'm here to testify for Jesus Christ. Today is the 14th of January, 2025. Last night I had a dream, and the dream was to tell me today I'm supposed to do a video that includes Rodney Gordon. Rodney Gordon is a guy I went to school with. He is the president of the NAACP in Decatur, Alabama. Someone I know, someone I ran into at my class reunion, shook hands with, ran into him over at a bicycle repair or lawnmower shop, shook hands with. But there's some things the Lord has led me to bring up, and I have in the past. Some of this has to do with the case of Steve Perkins in Decatur, Alabama. If you look it up, you can see what is said about the case. The case has not gone to trial. There's a big push for justice for Steve Perkins. But I'm going to talk about some things that are most important to everyone involved, regardless if you believe the police are guilty, if you don't believe the police are guilty. This is important to you because you are a human and you have a soul and you have an eternity which you will live somewhere. And therein lies my purpose for bringing this up. There are people pushing buttons. People are causing people to think in certain ways by use of a variety of different tactics. I'm going to show a few of those here in the video. But one thing I want to show and caution you on is what I call intercourse with the devil. You can look in the Bible throughout the Old Testament, and it's also included in the New Testament as well. But there's certain words derived from what we would call witchcraft or sorcery, enchantment, some various things like that. And anytime I speak about the Bible, most often I'm talking from a King James Version English perspective. So the use of witchcraft, sorcery, etc. In a nutshell, for brevity and for the explanation of today, there are people who are having communication with evil spirits. And the evil spirits are coaching them on how to interact with people. This happens at high levels. The Apostle Paul in the New Testament stated something that's called spiritual wickedness in high places. You can be rest assured there was witchcraft, sorcery, something to that nature going on in those high places and is currently today. And that is one thing that I want to address. You are being influenced by plans concocted by the devil, but they're delivered by people. So when you see something, you may think, well, this is just an innocent little thing. But this thing has been fooling society, members of society, all the time that mankind has been alive. I'm going to show some examples. I'm going to use, because Rodney is a black gentleman and I'm a white dude. There's going to be a lot of people think, well, this is racial. I'm going to use examples from both sides of the house so that you will understand there are white men and black men, white women and black women having this intercourse with the devil, producing something and then sending it out to the people. And the people are influenced by what this is. And I can do it best by using music. I'm going to use an example. There was a church in Decatur, Alabama. I guess it's all white, but maybe predominantly white. Westmead Baptist Church in Decatur, Alabama. The pastor had on his website, I've done a video about it before, that he loves hair metal. Now I'm going to show you a clip. And in this clip, it's of a band called Guns N' Roses. Within the band, there's a guy called Slash. He's a guitarist, but he's laying in a bed. He's got a snake. He's petting a snake. You can translate the word snake to serpent. Pet the serpent. Get in bed with the serpent. Get in good with the serpent. Get in good with the devil, that old Satan, that old Lucifer. Get in good with him. And because of how Slash presents things in the video, then you get women. They just jump in bed with you. They're provocatively dressed, etc. That is the message that a young man would receive from someone who says, hey, listen to this song, or go listen to hair metal. I'm sorry about that interruption, but what I was saying was, you have a pastor, in this case a white pastor, communicating to the community that hair metal is something to be loved. And then you have a guitarist, such as Slash, I think that's his name, petting the serpent. And then once you pet the serpent, you get all the women provocatively dressed into a bed. Now, that right there, just because of the imagery within the scene, you can say that was conceived in hell, or conceived by the dark side. That Jesus Christ did not produce, nor did the Spirit of Jesus Christ produce that scene. And someone who is cognizant of what is going on would not say, I just love this genre on a church website. It just wouldn't happen. But there are people who innocently are not cognizant of what's going on. The Bible even tells us, love not the world, neither the things of the world. So I say that, I start out pointing out white boys or white folks doing this, but I also want to share other things. And I'm going to share here one of Beyonce. And in this particular video, Beyonce comes onto the scene. She comes on provocatively dressed, almost baring her breast, but she's wearing some glasses. The one side of the glasses has a serpent on it, and the other side is a bare eye, or you can see her eye. Okay. The imagery there is, again, the serpent is involved. The one eye represents having your third eye opened up. And the serpent there also represents, those two pieces of imagery together, represents raising the serpent power. Raising the serpent power is something, there's a book called, I think it's called Raising the Serpent Power, something like that, written by a man named Manly P. Hall, who was a Freemason, about Freemasonry, and said, there was a quote, I did it in one of my Freemasonry videos, but they're trying to raise the serpent power. They are having intercourse with spiritual beings, the serpent, that old Satan, that old devil, and they are gaining power from him. So there's two examples. One, white folks doing it. Two, black folks doing it. Third one, here is, man, I can't think of people's names often. I'll put it on the screen here, but here is a girl who went around the world doing a thing called Taylor Swift, that's her name, doing a concert or a tour called Eros. Eros references mythology. Mythology reference gods with a little g, nothing to do with Jesus Christ, nothing to do with God, the Father of Jesus Christ, Jehovah, nothing to do with them. To do with the things that the dark side fools around with. But anyway, here she is. This is a video where she's showing Christians looking like dummies, and saying some words to the effect of, you know, you need to shut up, or something, some crazy stuff. But anyway, look at the back. Look at her back in this video. You see the serpent down there in the lower portion there, and you see a bunch of butterflies. These butterflies are monarch butterflies, and these monarch butterflies represent a type of programming called monarch mind control programming, something like that. Comes out of or is affiliated with a governmental project called MK Ultra. But anyway, this is representing intercourse with the devil. Now, Taylor Swift is a monarch butterfly of this program, meaning she's someone who flies around the world, such as a butterfly, and leads people in the wrong direction. Now, having said those things, I just want you to know there are people wandering your neighborhood. There are people driving your highways. There are people walking through your stores that you walk around with. Those people are more influenced by the songs or the things that are going on from a perspective of intercourse with the devil than they are knowing good or bad. Like, for an example, they would think it is okay to pop a cap in someone because there was a song that said, let's pop a cap in someone. They are in tune with these things coming at us from these people who are having intercourse with the devil. And scripturally, if you go to the New Testament, there is a phrase called the wine of Mystery Babylon's fornication. The Lord showed me the United States is Mystery Babylon. And most of this international push going out throughout the world comes from persons inside the United States, such as Slash, the band Guns N' Roses, Taylor Swift. I can't believe I can't think of her name from time to time. And then Beyonce. And Beyonce, her husband somehow or somebody like that is into this stuff too. So you have all these people around you being influenced by these things. Now, for Christians, you are a Christian. You are given the gift of the Holy Spirit. The King James calls it the earnest. That means you have this in you, and that is like God's promise to you, hey, I give you this now because that is my down payment for what you're going to receive later, or my representation. Some, earnest money goes out for our house. But you as a Christian, if you start putting things between you and God, and I call idols of the heart, I mention that very often. You can go to Ezekiel 14 in the Old Testament and see idols of the heart. You begin to put things between you and God, such as, well, I should be reading my Bible, but instead I'm listening to the scriptures as Beyonce would quote them in her song, or Slash would show us in his movie, or what's her name? And I may have failed to mention this. Beyonce was also, in that video, was also representing shooting. So the Bible tells us, because of this wine of Mr. Babylon's fornication, the whole world was made drunk, meaning the whole world's attitude is now changed or altered. And it's very easy to see that iniquity or sin or things that are just, where right becomes wrong and wrong becomes right. That's got to be what it's talking about, because I think there's a Daniel verse that says when the iniquity has come to the full, we're there. We are at the point where iniquity has come to its fullness in the world. So, having said those things, I want to show you some things going on, that how you are being led by local leaders and these things. Okay, this clip right here I'm going to show is involved in. Now, let me just say this. I want you to understand, I am all for justice in the Steve Perkins case in Decatur, Alabama. There's no way. If the cops are found guilty and that is justice, I'm going to side with that. If, however, they're found innocent and that is justice, I'm also going to side with that. I'm not one who says justice for Steve Perkins. I'm one who thinks along the lines of justice in the Steve Perkins case. And I don't know the laws. I don't know how this should be. I don't know how that should be. I know this. The Bible says, if you live by the sword, you shall die by the sword. So if you're using a gun to live your life, it is very possible you're going to die by a gun living your life, ending your life. That's how the Bible reads. So, food for thought. And if their community leaders haven't been educating people to put their guns up, don't pull a gun out. Someone's going to consider it to be a threat and start shooting. If community leaders aren't doing that, they're wrong. They're just absolutely wrong. However, if it weren't for this intercourse with the devil that's going on through our music and things like that, children would already know that. They would be like, it's wrong to carry a gun, but they're pumped. Even parents are pumping their children full of this iniquity in songs, movies, etc., so that the kids are carrying guns into school because the music is telling them to. Anyway, here's a clip of Rodney, NAAC president in Morgan County, dancing at the courthouse with other people. Let me pull up the quote that's in this song. This is a song called Meltdown by some dude named Scott Travis. Anyway, listen to this. Now, this is Community Leaders, Decatur, Alabama. This is the song that's being played as they're dancing to it. I'll fuck a nigga bitch, but she can't have the baby. I'll shoot your ass in Walmart like I'm the baby in Walmart. So I don't know how it goes in the song, but I know that I took those lyrics right off that. So what is being done to you is you're having people within the United States get ideas from spiritual beings other than God the Father of Jesus Christ or the Holy Spirit. These are devils, these are demons. People are having intercourse with them through sorcery, witchcraft, etc. And they're getting these ideas. And the ideas are being pumped into what most people think is a freedom of speech, such as lyrics of songs. And then while community leaders are protesting the shooting of someone, they're dancing to songs that are telling children to go to Walmart and kill someone. That is the drunkenness from the wine of Mystery Babylon's fornication. Mystery Babylon, United States, as I say, there's people going off chasing other gods. That's fornication. They're having intercourse with these other gods. That is just communication and understanding. Intercourse doesn't always have to be sexual intercourse. However, they're taking the ideas, pumping them into songs, pumping them into movies, pumping them into whatever the media might be, getting that information packed into the people of the United States' head to the point where they would actually protest the shooting of a man who showed up on the scene with his gun drawn first. And while protesting that, also teach your children to go to Walmart and shoot people. That is what's happening. I mean, you sit there and you think, what is happening with all these kids are going to school with guns. Heck, look at it. Community leaders are teaching them this. And the same thing is true. Here's a picture of a post by the president of the NAACP in Decatur, Alabama. It's a Morgan County chapter. Here's a picture of him promoting Beyonce as Super Bowl halftime entertainment. But when you look, she's teaching your young children, your daughters, men, your daughters, and women, your daughters, teaching them to dress provocatively, teaching them to bare their boobs, teaching them also to shoot. That is how this stuff is being communicated through sorcery, witchcraft. They're taking it at their level, putting it together mentally through demonic influence things, translating it into music, covering under freedom of speech, and then teaching your children how to go about that. And I'm going to give you an example. There's two examples here I want to use. The first I'm going to use is from First Baptist Church. I mean, I would almost say it's probably all white, maybe all predominantly white, in Decatur, Alabama. And the other is just overhearing a conversation. But both of these stories came from me sitting in a restaurant listening to conversations. The first conversation was of a minister at First Baptist Church in Decatur, Alabama. And he couldn't figure out how he could be close to the Lord one day and have an interaction with him, and then later not have those interactions. He could not solve the problem. I did a video yesterday. Today is the 14th of January 2025. If you go look at my video from yesterday, basically talking about going to compromised churches, what's happening with people is they are allowing these things to get between them and God. Ezekiel 14, idols of the heart. It could be a boat, but it also could be leeching onto these songs and these evil genres of music that are teaching them and their children how to go and, get women that dress provocatively and teaching your girls how to bare their tits and all that stuff. I want to say, before I get on to the black version of the conversation I heard at that same restaurant, what that is doing, since the man, and he was a pastor, going from in a relationship or in a good, close relationship with the Lord to a distant relationship, he was doing that. Every time he did that, every day that he was not closely walking with the Lord, he was penalizing his children. And he was penalizing the people that listened to him at church. This particular man was a minister of youth. And my sons reported to me, Dad, when we go there, there's like 45 minutes of talk about worldly things. And then finally, he gets up there and says something, about 5 minutes worth of something, and then it's over. It's over. So the nourishment that my son should have been getting were impeded by his interaction or his drinking of the wine of Mystery Babylon, going from a close relationship with the Lord to a not so close relationship with the Lord. And that's Southern Baptist. He is, in the same mentality of the Westmead Baptist Church, where they're like openly broadcasting everything. I mean, even back when I was a member there, when I was young, we had sororities. The European church, you hear from God. This is a true story. I heard from God, no doubt. I have something for you to do. You are witnessing. But this was all the way back in like 1980. Byron, I have something for you to do. That's all he communicated. I received that message in a church right around, surrounded by girls, sorority girls, who were in bikinis all week, tanning their little skin to the point that they have to wear creams to fix it nowadays, doing everything they could to be provocative, like the music of the time and like the things of the time taught them how to be, then invite you to a outing in a sorority type environment where there is dance and there's slow dance and all that stuff, and you're like, dang, I would really like to save myself for later in life. But because of the bombardment, because of this bombardment on us from all these things that have been the production of intercourse with the devil, you have men and women who are not doing the role they should do, such as they may have stated, I want to save myself for marriage, and they didn't. And there's all kinds of stuff like that. Okay. That was one outshoot of overhearing a conversation at a restaurant here in Decatur. Same conversation. Same restaurant, different conversation. A black lady was sitting near me by herself on the cell phone. So there was no one else around her except for this conversation on the cell phone. And I overheard her in conversation mentioning to another lady that she's going to have to quit screwing these three men because one of them is going to find out. Now, if you look at the post that Rodney made, where he is recommending Beyonce, all right, Beyonce has got the serpent eye. That particular one is covered. The other one is open, representing the opening of the third eye. Or you could say, as I mentioned about the book from Manly P. Hall, raising the serpent power within her. Then showing you how to dress provocatively and bare yourself. So it is possible the lady on the other side of the phone conversation had learned things like that from this type of setting. And she was doing that to play as many men as possible. And then you think, because this is impactful everywhere, regardless if it's a two-parent household or not. Think about the children who were penalized by not having a father either present or not having a father that had his mind right in his home. Think about how, if one lady is running around with three men at the same time, hoping they don't find out, then three men are also running around on somebody else too. Perhaps leaving a trail of single parent homes behind their wake, or perhaps raising children in the home they are in and not being of the mentality they need to be to teach their children correctly, right from wrong, etc. I'm not talking about what is important in the outcome of the Steve Perkins case for any particular individual or myself. I'm talking about what is important for you right now at this moment in time in history, when these United States, this place is the time left in this place is very limited. You can go back through videos that Rodney Gordon has done and videos of him and other people in the movement that they've got. Their alternative to not getting convictions in the Steve Perkins case is to burn the city down. Now, let's just say that's representative of tearing down the government. Regardless, there's going to be lives lost. And it's important that those people right now understand, if you're going to allow these kind of people who are doing intercourse with the devil and serving you on a silver platter things that have been the product or the wine of Mystery Babylon's fornication with demonic spirits, etc. You're gonna have to realize there's going to be casualties. There's going to be human casualties. I went down to one city council meeting, and I made it a point to state during the city council meeting that I was friends with someone in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, whose relative was killed in the aftermath of a case very similar to the Steve Perkins case here in Decatur, Alabama. I bet you there's people that thought, well, he's talking about some white dude. No, it was my black friend who lost her black cousin in the aftermath of a case of a black man being shot by police officers while he was reaching for a gun. There's going to be casualties on all sides. And listen, I told a black friend of mine, I told him that in 2008, the Lord showed me that we should be ashamed of how white people treated black people. You know, I wasn't there. I wasn't there at the time certain things were going on. I can promise you this: there's no one who would ever bring something against me that has any valid point of me being prejudiced or whatever. I can tell you that I was speaking to a black man just a few days ago on the phone, told him I loved him. He told me he loved me. Black man called me and said, you see what this fool Rodney Gordon's doing? Another black man I talked to, I told him, I said, you are the best man I ever worked with in my life. Went to Promise Keeper meetings with a black man. So you got people surrounding you that have had this intercourse with the devil, or the influence of intercourse with the devil, and you've been maybe taught that all white people are bad, or all white people whatever. There's those of us out there that believe that your soul, your spirit is just as important as any white person ever has been, and the color of your skin is irrelevant. I'm saying this for the betterment of people who can look back and see, wait a minute, man, what are these fools talking about? What are they doing to us? Because I can tell you, Rodney talks about being anointed, but you cannot have an anointed man teaching your children to kill people in Walmart through the means that I just showed you here on the tape. You can't have someone who calls himself anointed teaching your daughters to bear the breast, teaching them to have this style of attitude that brings them to have multiple sex partners throughout their life and perhaps children by many different people. You can't do that, man. You're a human just like, let's just say, you just take, for example, I'm talking to you, Mr. Black lady or man. You are just as important in the eyes of God as me. Jesus Christ died for you and me. We cannot allow this little minority of people out there who are being used in the judgment of God against this nation to prevent us from doing right just because of the color of our skin. So I need to get my act together. You need to get your act together, and you need to get yourself free from the influence of this stuff that I call intercourse with the devil, which is described as witchcraft, sorcery, enchantments, etc. in the King James Version of the Bible. You can look it up in the Webster's 1828 dictionary. Look up sorcery. I might throw it on the screen for you. Sometimes, man, putting these videos together, it takes so much time I can't do it. And the Lord showed me one time I threw this dude, I was playing at Calhoun, I was a baseball player. I threw this guy out at third base, and I promise you, the ball got to third base before I realized I had decided to throw the ball. Now, and I realized it, it happened, but it was so natural. And the Lord's been telling me, dude, don't put thought into this. Just make the video. Just do it. So some of these thoughts are coming to me as I'm doing this video, but I want you to know, man, there are people in this city preparing to burn this city down. And I can tell you, man, those who are openly doing so are doing it with knowledge that it's going to come to pass. The civil rights attorney that was representing the Perkins family, Catrilla Perkins, in her lawsuit, I don't know his name. You can go back in his videos, and maybe I will pull it back up. But you can go back in his videos. He stated that what's going on in Decatur, Alabama is being used as a model. And if it's successful, it's going to be used throughout the United States. So if what is happening with the burning down of Decatur, Alabama is successful, then it's going to be used throughout. And I also want you to know, this isn't pick on black people, Dave, just because I'm talking about Rodney. There's white people, not just on the Steve Perkins side, but I'm talking about there are white people in position in our city council government that are having conversations with the black people who are in the movement and coordinating their movements in the best way that they can in order to take down the city. I mentioned Freemasonry. Freemasonry is heavily involved in this. Freemasonry is controlled by the learned elders of the Zion, or the elders that Jesus told your father is the devil. So this is big time stuff happening at our level, in our city location. I am suspect that every person in the city government in a position of authority is part of it. I did a video out in front of, out behind, between the river and the Doubletree Hotel, probably 2017, something like that far long ago, showing that's going to be the headquarters for all that's going down. If you look, there are organizations that are already headquartered in the Doubletree. And I saw that Doubletree burning down. It's going to be the last day for Freemasonry. Freemasonry is being used against us, or as Christians. Christians, you're going to be persecuted by Freemasons. You're going to be persecuted by women in the auxiliaries, or in the whatever they call their women's group that's got the satanic star on it, Eastern Star, something like that. fraternities and sororities are going to be used. Matter of fact, there's videos out there, and I'm just going to have to keep this going, man, because it's just too much for. I'm not talking about this particular video. I'm about to bring this to a close, but there's other videos. You can see people doing things, and if you just spend a little time thinking about what they're doing, you got to realize this is planned, man. This is planned. Altercations between police, how things go. Some of it may not be planned, but a lot of it is. The Lord showed me that Freemasonry is Jezebel. It's the Jezebel of the New Testament. You can see in Revelation chapter 2, starting at verse 18, in the church of Thyatira. That woman Jezebel it speaks of. But if you think singly of a woman, you'll be looking around forever and you're not going to find it. But if you think of the organization of Freemasonry in the church, you're going to find it. And the church is what the King James calls suffering, or allowing or tolerating Freemasonry within the church. Familiar faces are going to be among those persecutors, and it's going to be rough for Christians. So, having said all that, and steering you in the direction that I think and the Lord has shown me to think, this also gives people who are innocently involved in something above their level of knowledge the opportunity of repentance. Like Rodney, I told Rodney through a video, I tried to speak with him in person, but I told him through a video all the way back in at least early 2024. So Rodney, the best way to advance black people in Decatur, Alabama, the way the Lord showed it to me, was to have them do good for white people. And the white people would receive them, and then they would advance at a more rapid rate than fighting. What's the guy's name? X. Malcolm X. The Lord showed me Malcolm X is going to get his revenge. If you go look at Malcolm X is the one who thought black people should have their own places and live in their own place. And white, he thought along the lines of segregation, but somewhat different than what we've seen in the past. So having said all that, I want to make it a point. I meant what I said about how white people have treated black people in the past. I was not there. My ancestors, to the best of my knowledge, have never owned slaves. But I will say this one point, because Rodney's a Freemason. Rodney openly talks about Freemasonry and states that there was a person within his family that was previously a Freemason. But when you think about Freemasonry and you think about slavery, you also have to think George Washington is promoted as a Freemason and the first president of this nation. And he owned up to 126 slaves. At the time of his death, like his will, he wanted those slaves to be transferred to his wife. And at his wife's passing, he wanted them to be freed. So what a conflict to have a Freemason, a member of the NAACP, to be promoting the advancement of colored people, teaching them from just the songs that he shares how to be against God and against the laws of God and how God wants the culture to be. But also embracing an organization such as Freemasonry that has previously promoted the owning of slaves. Take the same thing to one of the founders of the Ku Klux Klan, Albert Pike, a Civil War general, Southern Civil War general, majorly taunted as a great and wonderful guy. He was involved in the Klan, or one of those guys, and I think it was Albert Pike. So anyway, there's a lot of conflicting ways of being out here. But I want you to know Jesus Christ loves you. There's white people who love you. There's black people that love you, white people. And unfortunately, this racism card, it's prophesied. And Jesus stated in the Matthew chapter 24, I think. Nation shall rise against nation. And if you translate that into modern day English, you could say this tribe is going to rise against that tribe, etc., or white people against black people, etc. And that is part of the plan. When you say when the time of iniquity has come to the full, unfortunately, that's where we're at. I don't think you can fight that being a focal point of the end of the United States as we know it, but you can leech on to Jesus Christ. I have consistently said Jesus Christ is your only hope. And Jesus Christ can steer you clear of the trouble that's coming. But it's not going to happen if you're having this intercourse with the devil or you're having these idols of your heart, which would take the rest of my lifetime to talk about. They're so vast. We are being taught wrong from our churches. They're teaching us it's okay to be part of the world. Our community leaders are showing us bad examples to go by. And it's all part of this intercourse with the devil. Like, what better way to do it is to say you're anointed and then send out a message that teaches your daughters to strip in front of men and leave behind a legacy of single parent homes. You men that are out there, I'm gonna tell you something. I have looked at this so hard for so long, and I can tell you the number one issue that I always come back to is men not being who they need to be. Now, some of that is the fault of the women not allowing the men to be that who they would want to be, and some of that is the fault of pastors not raising church members to be who they need. It's just huge. This thing is so complex, but it really does come down to, like, if you want to say what's wrong with our youth or what's wrong with our country, we weren't raised right. We weren't raised right in our homes. We weren't raised right in our churches. We weren't raised right in our schools. We weren't raised right in our communities. We've been raised by these people who had intercourse with the devil and spread. He wore us out, man. He wore us out, and we're about to pay for it. So anyway, I'm going to let you go. There's no ill intent here. I just want to inform you of what's going on and what to be looking out for. Because you have one hope, and that's Jesus Christ. And you heard it from me, but you can hear it from the Bible too. Don't let these people that are saying they're anointed or saying I'm Pastor so-and-so who are spreading this junk throughout Christianity to fool you. They're not anointed, and they don't have their eyes singly on Jesus, man. So I'll let you go.